Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Pep Talk. What I love most about taking action is the clarity that you get in doing so. And I think it's funny that I decided to do this, and this is a part of my personality that I'm becoming very familiar with and really aware of how I am. But I had the inspiration to do this. I'm very much a person that wants to work in from a place of inspired action. And so I immediately just threw this together and started doing it. Now, I am one of those people, I know this about myself, that I'm really, really good at starting things, but not so good at finishing. And that's really something that I want to work on changing in myself. And I want to do that, or the way to do that is by taking action. Today's topic, though, what I wanted to talk about and what has really been on the top of my mind is the habit or feeling of resistance that comes up whenever you try to do something new. And I had to laugh at myself when I already yesterday, after doing this only one day, noticed the resistance to doing this starting to come up already. And I said to myself, okay, that's funny. That was really fast. That happened really fast. And in the past, and this is why I really want to talk about resistance, because it is that thing that can hold so many people up. I see it in my clients, I see it in myself. It's the thing that I think is the most at the root of probably everything that I personally struggle with is this idea of resistance. And for me, I resistance is an actual feeling. Maybe it's different for everyone, but for me, I feel resistance in my body and I feel it as a very heavy feeling. What I recognized this morning as I was preparing for this and wanting to talk about this about the topic of resistance is that as an empath, as an intuitive, I have given so much more credence to the feelings that I have without recognizing the thoughts that are creating my feelings. When I'm feeling really good and happy and light, things just flow. There's just a flow. Everything feels right. But when I'm in that feeling of resistance, which to me in my body just feels very heavy, there are times when I just can't physically take an action. I went through 2 months of that actually in August, or excuse me, in October and November, of just feeling this really heavy, heavy feeling of resistance about, like, I felt like my whole body just weighed just a million pounds. And yesterday morning, I heard Eckhart Tolle. Now, I'm not into gurus, but if I had one, Eckhart Tolle would be my guru. And I heard him talking about the subject of resistance. And I will link that show and the specific little snippet of the talk that he talked about in the show notes below. But what he talked about was that resistance is a very necessary part of living. And as I started thinking about it, it was when I heard him talk about it like that, it reminded me, like, the best way of changing your body, the best thing that you can do if you want to change your outside physical appearance is to lift weights, to lift heavy weights, to have that resistance training your muscles. And so if you want to compare making any kind of change in your life, I always like to compare things to working out and dieting or changing our body, because that is something that universally all of us have. Just understand the resistance that comes at the beginning of wanting to make that kind of change. And I don't even need to go into it because everyone is so well aware of how difficult it is when you want to change your body. that you are met immediately with resistance. You don't want to eat what you need to be eating. You don't want to go get up early. You don't want to go out and go for a walk. You don't want to meet with your trainer. There's all these I don't want tos, which is actually just resistance. That is just resistance disguised, because that's what resistance does. It shows up in a disguise and it tricks you. And so when Eckhart Tolle talked about resistance being a very necessary part of life in building yourself, building your resilience to change, that really helped me, because then right on the heels of that, I started feeling resistance to what I'm doing. And like I said, and what I'm doing here is what I mean. And in the past, what I would have allowed my negative feelings, the resistance that I felt coming up, what I would have allowed to do before was I would have allowed that to stop me. I would have taken the fact that I was having some kind of negative emotion as a sign that I was doing the wrong thing. Like I should be doing something different. This means that nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I need to be better prepared. I need to get my set up better, which is funny because the reason I'm late shooting this morning is because I continually have issues with my lighting and getting things set up correctly. And even today, I know in the past, I would have allowed all of those thoughts that were translating to feelings that were making me very angry and irritated and just getting like frustrated with myself. I would have allowed the momentum of those thoughts to take me to a place of giving up. And I'm at a place in my life now where I need to learn how to move forward. I don't have a choice as far as I'm concerned. I need to learn how to push through these feelings when I'm hit with the resistance of learning something new, of showing up consistently. One of the things, there's many different ways that resistance shows up for us. And as creators, as artists, that is just something that we have to deal with every single day. You hear people talk about it. Stephen Pressfield has an amazing book, The War of Art, or is it The Art of, well, anyways, I'll link that book too. But he has an amazing book that actually talks about the resistance that we all face and the ways that we can change that. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. But I just wanted to read to you out of this book by Louise Hay, You Can Change Your Life, which is just an absolutely amazing book. And one of the things that resistance can do for your body is that continual resistance, and being in that continual place of resistance over a long period of time causes dis-ease in your body. It causes disease in your body. So that is why that is a big part of what this book is about. And there's all sorts of different things I could talk to you about in this book. But today I wanted to focus just on a few ways that resistance shows up in life, because like I said, it does come as a disguise. And this was written before, her book was written before the internet. But one of the things, resistance, it can show up in endless scrolling. So if you see yourself scrolling endlessly, I am totally guilty of that myself, where I get stuck on scrolling and I feel like I can't even pull myself out of it. That is a form of resistance. Leaving the room, changing the subject, being late, refusing to pay attention, obviously eating, drinking, smoking, all of those things can be resistance. Your different thoughts can be resistance. They could show up as what's the use? It won't do any good anyway. It won't help. And it shows up in your beliefs is it's too far to drive. It's too much work. It's too expensive. I'm not that kind of person. And it can show up in self-confident concepts as I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too fat, I'm too short, I'm too tired, I'm too weak, I'm too dumb, I'm too too worthless, it's frivolous, it's not worth it. So there's all these different ways that resistance can show up in different ways in your life. But what I have found, the easiest way to move forward, the easiest way to change having that resistance or that feeling of resistance, which I like that Eckhart Tolle said that you need that resistance. And then I was able to connect that with lifting a weight, because to me, resistance does have a feeling. It feels very heavy. So if I can use that, pushing that feeling as my building a muscle, as a catalyst to getting me to where I want to go, that is a really good visual. Like I can reframe resistance and make it a good thing just by the way that I think about it. But one of the things that I have found, the way to actually move it. Now, if you're able to actually get moving and just make yourself move, then that's amazing. But I have found that with myself and with the clients that I work with, that oftentimes just knowing that you need to make that change isn't enough to there's so much negative momentum behind the thoughts of whatever you're telling yourself that got you to where you are in the first place, that it's very hard then to just snap your fingers and change that thought and get yourself off the couch, or get that box unpacked, or clear that counter, or shoot the video, or any of the number of endless things that we have on as creators of things that we want to do. So the easiest way that I have found to change that is to write yourself right, is to write it out. And it's very simple. You just get a piece of paper, get a pad of paper. This is for your eyes only. You don't have to show anybody this. This is merely an exercise. Like if you were in the gym and I was your trainer and we were going to start lifting weights, this is in a sense, lifting weights. And actually what you're doing is lifting the weight of those negative thoughts off of your body, out of your mind, getting them out on paper to make the space for you to be able to actually start getting the momentum going, getting the flow going in a better way. So instead of going swimming upstream, we're going to turn ourselves and we're going to go downstream. So the easiest way I found to change that is to write about it. And so what you would do, and you're going to have resistance to doing this. I know you are, because I know I live this too. I don't have this all figured out. These are the things that I have to do myself. And so what I want you to do is just start writing the feeling, how you would like to feel, you would like to feel better. Now, maybe you have to start off saying, I really don't want to do this. You can start off writing, I really don't want to do this, but Vanessa says it's going to make me feel better. If I were feeling better, I would feel like excited and motivated, or happy, or any of those feelings. And what's going to happen, you can see this for yourself. What is going to happen is once you get that going, the positive momentum, the focusing on the positive momentum of that energy, you are going to see it change yourself. That is something that you might have to put a little bit of effort into to get that flowing, but you can use that and prove to yourself how the law of attraction works. And you can also sit back and see the manifestation that you will have if you stay in the place where you are, if you stay in the same place, if you stay on the couch, scrolling Netflix, trying to find something to watch, binge watching episodes, that doesn't feel good. So a lot of times you can't jump, or just the way of the laws of the universe, you can't jump from feeling terrible to feeling amazing. It's way too big of a gap. So you have to write yourself into that. But I really encourage you to try this, because that is the thing. That one little thing can really change your whole life. And you may have to do it every single day. You may have to just have that awareness. That is the first step, is just having that awareness of like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I had that with this. I go, oh, wow, I already don't want to do this. That's interesting. That showed up way faster than I was expecting it to come. but there's no way around it. Sooner or later, resistance is going to show up no matter what it is in if you're trying to do something new. So understand that resistance doesn't mean that it's wrong, doesn't mean that what you're doing is wrong. In fact, resistance, you can use resistance as like a light on your path to show you, oh wow, I'm feeling resistance because I'm moving forward. This actually means this is good. This is really good. And I know how to work through this. And I know how to build my resistance, my anti resistance muscle. And I'm going to work my way through it, which will eventually lead to you taking some sort of different action. Now, if you're really down, it may be the tiniest little thing, but you have to focus on whatever that is, that change in momentum, no matter how tiny. If you can just savor that you actually were able to somehow make a shift, that is the key. That is where the change in creation really lies, in being able to get yourself to a point where you're taking different actions. So I want to close this today with one of my very favorite sayings. I did not invent this. I don't know where I heard it. Well, I do know where I heard it. I heard it many, many years ago when I was in a self-help program, probably 20 or 30 years ago. And I read it in one of their literature books. And the saying is, it is not it is your resistance to change that is creating the pain, not the change itself. And I love that because we all have something we want to change. And so often we sit around waiting for that change to happen, waiting until we feel like we are in the mood to make that change. That's never going to come. Either what's going to happen, which is what has happened to me and both of the major life changes that I have had in the last 2 years. The first one being us, my having to move my family out of California. That came to a point where I was forced to do it. And then the second time in December of 2022, where it got to the point that I could not do my job anymore. I had to walk away from my career because I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it one more second. I was going to end up getting very sick. And I could have instead chose to make the change sooner, but I always had taken it that it didn't feel right for me to make the change. And so I didn't make the change. And now after walking through that, I'm really beginning to have the awareness that you can change those feelings of resistance by just thinking different thoughts and writing yourself right. So if you've done this and it's worked for you, I would love it if you would write in the chat and let me know how you were able to move past even a little bit on something that's been holding you back. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow.